Gratitude in Abundance. InfiniteVibez here to help raise your awareness. I have a very special guest on today's show. Dr. Niemah Nefertiti is joining us in the building today. So without further ado, you guys know the deal. Let's take a collective deep breath. Inhale through your nose. And then exhale. How are you feeling today?
You know what? I'm feeling blessed and divine as usual.
Amazing.
Today and every day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This has been a long time coming. I know we've talked about doing this a while back when we were in Hawaii.
Yes,
and
we
now,
did.
Fast forward, it's finally happening,
Yes,
So,
it is.
so I want to kind of dive in. This is going to be a little bit a mixture between human design, and then I want to talk about polarities between the masculine and the feminine. First of all, I want to ask how, utilizing your strategy and authority has helped you and impacted you in your life in regards to, relationship, business, family, even health overall, just to get your perspective on it.
Well, it's helped me because one thing I would say that human design revealed to me, when you brought it to me and you actually did my human design, it created a lot of aha moments, which I felt like I was kind of void of that, thought process. Not to say that, I've gotten readings done, get your astrological chart done and all those things. And those things are greatly helpful. However, with certain things that I did, the way I moved, the way I think, things that were happening to me in my life that I just didn't have the clearest clarity on.
Yeah.
But when I got my human design from you, it created some real serious epiphanies and aha moments. Oh, dang, that's the reason why I've experienced this in my family. This is the reason why, I might have felt like I had a lot of moments where I was get stabbed in the back, or people wasn't listening to me, or I felt isolated, or the reason why I made certain business decisions, or the reason why I am the way I am with my family. All that was outlined in my human design chart, which was scary and exciting at the same time. So I was like, oh my God, this is real. You can't make this up.
No.
How you're designed, your energy grids, because of course we all are individual universes, universes, and in my energy grid and how my constellation is aligned within me told me everything. Why I'm here, when was success going to happen for me, why it was happening at that time, what I'm here to do, why I'm doing it, why I'm a sacred authority, why I'm a manifested generator, and how to use that energy. And I want to tell you, it's been so helpful. So even though I still have to go through some real tough moments, because that's in my design to have certain hardships, still to know it brought me some type of real peace. Because even though I'm experienced, and I'm like, yeah, but that's in my design. So I designed myself.
Yeah, you chose the container, and I really like what you said in regards to the difference between that and some of the astrology, because I tend to find that a lot of times we go into the astrology and that's great, but that's all mind. It's not in the present moment. And in the initial moment, what do you have? You have your body, you have your being, and that is your design, and a lot of times people don't know how to read their blueprints, so they go to these other things. And it's not to say that astrology, you shouldn't get your astrology reading done or anything like that, but this entire thing gives you a blueprint to your astrological circumference. So yeah, I'm very glad that you said that. I'm glad that it's working out for you, and I know it's not easy, but hey, it's fun, right?
Yeah, it's really fun. And I know that a lot of times us as humans can really want to know all the answers. What's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be successful at this? When will I, be wealthy? is this thing gonna happen for me next week? And we always like want to know when. But when you get your human design and you really move through understanding how you were designed and why you were designed that way, I feel like you kind of more so kick back and become comfortable with enjoying the experience of your design, enjoying your life, enjoying the unfolding, enjoying the mystery, even the hardships, because they refine you. I mean, really and truthfully, I know people say this a lot, but a diamond was cold and it had to be refined to become a diamond. It had to go through some things to become that precious, that precious crystal, that precious diamond. So in that experience of going through some things, like I feel like in my design and talking, I don't want to give y'all all my business. Okay, I'll tell y'all all my design, but I will say this: in the experience of getting my design done with Brother Mugen, and he is so thorough with it, and he patient, and he's available, and he's very, very knowledgeable, with it. And I will say this because this is important with the BIPOC community, and there's not many people that's doing human design for the BIPOC community. The human design, usually if you find someone who's reading, I mean, I'm not here to throw 50 shades of gray, but I'll throw some 50 shades of black. When you are from the BIPOC community, there is a different element present, melanin. And with that different element present, it does shift how things move in your realm a whole lot, because melanin is such a high vibrational frequency.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
that's that element of carbon, being integrated into it, especially like as we connect like through ethereal energy, right? Like a lot of our, the mind is really like up in here in space, and we tend to pull a lot of our ideas and these thoughts and stuff from the ethers, right, the kether, and then grounding that carbon into our being, right, and then or rooting it, right, going all the way down to the root electromagnetic motor, the root chakra, right, and then sometimes it can become too much where people become stagnant, or they don't really know how to properly operate. And this is why I often tell people to utilize this tool, because it gets you out of the mind, right? And you're not too focused on the root. It gets you into your strategy and authority, and it creates kind of like a balance. And like you said, it's your game, and you get to play it. And like any character in a video game, right? Like you're gonna start off with pretty much probably nothing, right? And then you can go ahead and design that character and play the game however you wanted to play, and take these leaps. Or sometimes you might take a leap and you might not find that you're equipped for it. You get knocked back a little bit, and then you continue the journey, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really powerful. It's a very powerful tool. So I want to kind of talk about the balancing, right, of the like the masculine and the feminine energy. How has human design maybe like helped you in regards to doing that? Like now that you know that how you're designed to operate, right, or how you've been experimenting with your design, right? How has that helped you really find the balance between that flow, right, and then the structure, in regards to playing this game, called life?
That's a really good question. How human design has helped me balance out my feminine to my masculine is by giving me clarity. I think clarity is everything. When you're clear on who you are, and you're clear how you were designed and why you were designed to do certain things, I feel like it gives you now the space to be able to drop into your authentic self. Now you feel, because you're clear, you're more apt to say, wow, okay, I see that. I see why I have this line of power, or this line of joy, or this line of abundance, or whatever your lines and how they connect or even disconnect. And once you have that clarity, being a divine feminine, I was able to soften I was
Wow.
able to soften a lot because I was like, okay, I understand this now. I understand why I went through this in my earlier years to get me here where I am, and this other half of my life. And so I was able to soften into clarity, soften into acceptance, and soften into the experience. Like, for real. And when I got my chart done at the time, when I got my design done at the time, I was in a transformative phase too, as I had already been in Hawaii at that time for 7 years.
Wow.
And did so much humanitarian work out there, had transformed so many things in Hawaii. I had worked with a lot of women that was in the domestic violence program. I had worked with over 400 women in Hawaii through a domestic violence program that I created and implemented a spiritual program in the state of Hawaii. I also was the first Black woman to be in the Hawaiian parade, the first Black woman to create the Global Love Music Festival and took over a resort for the day. That brought out so many people and so many different cultures together. I had transformed so many things while I was there. I was also, my nonprofit was also on first responders for the first time that the volcano erupted, and we had the first eruption in Hawaii. I was sat on that board and helped with strategies of recreating community rebuilding after a natural disaster. I had been through so many transformative things and have done so much work there. I was kind of in that masculine
Frame, right?
frame.
Yeah.
And so when you did my design, it showed me different things about myself. That clarity really helped me soften. And then I wanted to just make meals for the community.
Amazing. I really like how you said that you were there for like a 7-year time span, right? That period. Because I usually tell people, I'm like, hey, this is not, you're not going to go get a reading and then think, hey, this is great. Like, I'm done. I got the information I needed, because it takes 7 years to implement a lot of these things, right? Like, you have to literally learn how to utilize your strategy and authority, right? And this is what helps people to decondition, right? And then condition, and I think in today's world, like, especially with like the spiritual community just kind of on the up and ups, right? Everybody's kind of coming into awareness that they hold breath within themselves. And so everybody's thinking, okay, I have to breathe in a certain way, meaning I have to eat a certain way, I have to live a certain way, I have to, go be broke and live in the jungle somewhere or whatever. Like, that's not necessarily like what spirituality is. It's really just the breath, right? Like, as long as you're breathing, you're having a spiritual experience. So it doesn't look a certain type of way. Right. And so
that's fast.
And so the fact that you were able to like see all this stuff, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you went through, like, there's a lot of conditioning and deconditioning that you help process, and especially with you being a 6 line, right? That role model phase, because everything you said, like, you were spearheading so much change. And your design literally took you into an environment where you could be part of like such a major transformation, right? Where people can look up to you and come to you, and like, even myself, at one point, like, I had come to you for help, and you help, with open arms, and not everybody is really designed to do that, so just all those things that you were able to do and helping, with that deconditioning of a specific grid line, right? Because at the beginning you said, like, there's all these grids out there within ourselves. There's also these grids in these specific places. So you were able to go into an environment and live out your strategy and authority and help change so much. And 7 years we think it's a long time, but it's really not, right?
It went by so incredibly fast.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
And to be clear, right now, I love Hawaii. I love Hawaii. Okay, Hawaii. They say in order to create peace, you first need to know what peace is. I feel like Hawaii taught me what peace is. You know, but first I had to manifest. I had to go inside of myself, and I first had to be manifesting that thought process of peace and embodying that within myself to project that on the outside from my outside environment. And Hawaii gave me that peace and nourishment and love and aloha spirit. And at first I was confused. I was just like, well, why do I need to leave and go to a place that I do not deem peaceful if I have been embodying this peace? But then I realized that you're not here to keep it to yourself.
Right. We had to spread the
Have
aloha
to
spirit.
spread the aloha spirit. So now we're here. Now my design, I feel like, you know, that's all in that chart that is that the second half of my life I'll be very successful. And I just feel like now that I'm in a certain point in that sixth line, I feel like all the things that I've been working so hard to accomplish has been now just kind of unfolding.
And like just fully coming full circle, right, with everything that you've acquired over time, right? And I think that's really wonderful, right? Because even though you did leave and you did come here, right, you still ended up going to other places as well, right? Because you were lit up, right? You got the call, you were lit up by it, and then you went to those places and you continue to implement, and a lot more came out of it, right? So I think that's super powerful. Like just the simple fact that you just continue to follow strategy and authority, and it takes you to all these places. And it's not about having necessarily like the finances or I think like that's very limiting, right? When we look at these external things outside of ourselves, and we think, okay, I can't do this because I don't have this, right? And we put this how in front of us, and we stop ourselves from really living in our full strategy and authority, right? And so people, how do you get over these limiting beliefs, right? Like how are you able to just kind of like push that aside and just go full throttle, because you've done a lot of amazing things, right? And I'm sure there was like sometimes you might have, the mind may have come in, right, and been like, what's going on, how are we going to do this, right? So how are some of the ways you push through in regards to those situations?
Prayer and meditation, being focused. I feel like having being consistent. It's a lot of times you'll have these things that you do to get you where you really can hear your higher voice channel through you. But being consistent and getting up early with prayer and meditation, journaling, scripting, finding time really to love on me. I feel like that's what helped me push through. Because, trust me, everybody's ego show up. Of course, my ego tried to show up and be like, you can't do that. Why are you even doing that? Case in point, when I was working on the Global Love Music Festival in Hawaii, it took me a year to plan for that festival. It took me a year to put that together, and I did that with no budget.
Wow.
I had no budget.
That's amazing.
I had $0. I kid you all not. Zero. I didn't have any big sponsorships yet. None to be seen. But I developed a whole team of people that worked for free. That's money. They gave their time and their resources. Tim, you know who you are. That was my first big camera crew. And Tom and Richard. These people worked in the industry. They worked for BET, Paramount. They've worked, they've done some amazing things in their journey. They came on, did the filming. They donated me the backdrop. Then the Hilton, Grand Analoa Hilton Hotel, they donated too. They donated the space. That was a really big investment on their part. Donation and sponsorship on their part. I mean, we had One Love, Global Love Food, One World Food came in and donated 300 meals. When I tell you the love showed up, I had just as much love I also had just as much opposition. There was a lot of people didn't want to see that happen. I'm going to be very blunt and very, very honest. Being a black woman in Hawaii, new to that place, a lot of people didn't want to see me do that.
I think it's very fascinating, because this is going to get a bit deep, right?
Yeah, let's go. Because you know me.
I know you like
I'm
going
about
deep.
honesty and deepness. Let me take a sip before we continue
Let's
because
do it.
we're gonna get deep. I need a sip.
Well, I kind of like how like a lot of these locations, right? They tend to like really like shun outsiders coming in.
Absolutely.
Right, and it's just kind of like I don't understand personally, right? If I'm really going into the history from what I've learned about these islands, right? This man called Maui was a general from North Africa. And I did that history. I went and I studied it. What really got me interested in that was
King Kamehameha too.
King Kamehameha, yeah.
Let's not go, but
exactly.
we can go because he definitely had that Nigerian blood. Let's go though.
Yeah, we're going into it. Like we have to discuss this, right? So what got me looking into that was the weapon of choice was this sickle, and I realized that it's an Aden cross symbol from West Africa, from Ghana, and so I began to study that a bit more, and I began to find the rootedness to the continent, right? And so when I trace, we call it the Ring of Fire, right? When you trace the Ring of Fire and then you look at it, it gives you the backside of Africa, the African continent. So you have the Ring of Fire, and it's the backside of the African continent, literally right there, right? And we often say that that specific locations was the island or the land of Lemuria, right? The Mu. That's what Mugen. That's where that name comes from, right? So you have the Mers, basically, or the blue people, and so I find it interesting how you have a location and they're telling you, hey, like you're not our people, but you're somebody who is they have the same blood as you, right? This is like all the conditioning, and it's just not. It's not just there. It's even like
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
We can go anywhere. I'm very well traveled. We can go anywhere on this planet, and you're gonna find some African people. You go to Japan. The first Buddhas was African.
Yeah.
Okay, they even have them in the African Museum. You go to India, you got people that are literally the hue color of blue black over there, same color as the Sudanese people. You go to Turkey, same. It isn't. You can't. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
We're literally everywhere. You cannot escape the beginning and the end.
In the end.
You cannot. You're not going to be able to do that. But they want to keep us segregated. I know this is a little bit off topic of the human design, but it's important.
No, we got to go into
I
it.
know that they want to keep us separated and segregated. They want to have us fighting even though we're still one. They want to do that because that's their control tactic, and we're falling for it. If you really truthfully want to be wealthy, when you go in meditation, connect with your global family. Then you're able to tune in and tap in to your sisters and brothers around the world. That's extra power. We cut off that extra power from connecting to that extra power by thinking we're separate from it. Yeah. And we see your sisters and brothers in different countries, and you think just because you have a different accent or a different slang or your food is slightly different, that make you better or less than. It doesn't. You're still one. And if you really want to exercise your human design, you really want to do that, then understand that you're dealing with all these microcosms of the macrocosm.
Yeah.
And we're all a universal consciousness. Mm-hmm. And that's all really your human design is to do, is to show you your part in the microcosm of the macrocosm. And trust me, there's another brother or sister out there that fits so perfectly with your design. Yeah. And if you're willing to tune in to all of that macro consciousness, whatever you need, whenever you need it, it's already created.
It's already there.
It's already there. Only thing you got to do is give thanks.
Mm-hmm. And I was saying that initially, right? Because I was kind of going to go into the conditioning aspect of it, but you really went into the next step after that.
I'll take a sip. So I just slow down.
we tapped into that. We tapped into the super consciousness. Basically, is what you were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I was just gonna say, there's so much conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Happening all over the world, all over this planet. And people are like, oh, I'm from here, I'm from there. But you fail to realize we're all in the same place.
Yes.
We're all in the same place. And, there's conflict, there's wars because somebody chooses to connect with consciousness in a specific way. or and it gets deeper, right? Because now we're going to go into the aspect of like the corporations backing us, certain nations and stuff like that. And it really does go deep. It really does go deep in regards to like the kingdoms. I'll say this: the corporations and the kingdoms, like there's a certain type of conflict in regards to that, right? And I've noticed that everywhere that there's a kingdom, these corporations try to come in and really like take over, right? You have like the Kingdom of Hawaii, for example, and then it's heavily conditioned by the corporation of the United States of America, right? And it's happening the same like all over the world. It's situations like in Israel right now and the Gaza Strip. Because I know this is deep, but this situation.
But isn't that what this channel is for?
That's what it's for.
Let's go.
That's what it's for.
Go deep.
Like there's so much trauma porn out there in the world, right?
You call it trauma porn?
I call it trauma porn because
tell us why you call it trauma porn.
Because it's an addiction. Like they show it to you, right? Imagine if you didn't know about any of these things that were happening in the world right now. Would you be spending all your time and energy on these external things that are happening far away from you, right? That's a form of conditioning. Now, I think it's okay to acknowledge. I think it's okay to acknowledge those things that they're happening, right? But like when you feed it energy, when you give that your chi, it continues to perpetuate and expand even more. And that's what the corporation is trying to do. It's trying to take your chi, your vital life force, to feed its agenda, right? And so deconditioning from that, acknowledging that reality happening over there, right? But understanding that what is in front of you right now, what can you do and how can you impact it, right, is what the entire aspect of utilizing your mechanics is for. How are you impacting that current location? And so I love how you went to a location despite all the odds and all the obstacles and everything in front of you, right? You were still able to make all these things happen because, like you said, focus, right, meditation, and all these things. And also, just tapping into that super consciousness, like you said. Like you said, we're all connected in one way or another, and everybody's out there. So yeah,
everybody's out there. And when you really are tuned into love is the answer, like to everything, to every solution. Love is the solution. Like to every problem, love is the solution. And no matter what was coming at me, what I know was coming at me really was myself.
It was yourself.
It was myself coming at me. It was my own doubts, my own fears, my own prejudices of myself. Because whatever was coming at me, those things were already stewing and brewing in my subconscious thoughts about me. And so as it was coming towards me in the form of humans, in the form of experiences, it put me in a position where I really had to take a deeper look at me. How do I really truly feel about me? And am I connecting to the conscious collective in the most loving, high vibrational way possible? It made me take a look at that. See, we say these things one thing I really noticed about coming into your spirituality, and when I say spirituality, I do not mean religion, and I have nothing against religion at all. I have definitely moved through all of those different levels of education, which is religion has been the foundation of my life as growing. So this is not an attack on religion or a put down on religion. But when I say spirituality, I do not mean religion, because to me, spirituality means awareness of all spirit things, not just one facet of it, but all spirit things. And when I start coming into the awakening of spirituality, I also noticed that different levels of ego showed up. Different levels of judgment showed up. I just think that what it did was kind of metamorphosized itself into a different way that I had to take a look at in a different way. But as I was able to take a look at how my ego was showing up in different ways, it had to manifest itself on the outside as forms of prejudices, as forms of attacks or forms of blocks, because all those blocks was already in my subconscious mind. All those prejudices that you can't do it, and how dare you come here and try to do that, and you're not from here, and this and that, and all of those things. I was able to work through that because I got up every morning and I prayed and I meditated and I connected to the people with love of the island, to the Aina, Mother, Father, the sky, the ancestors there. And once I said, no, I do belong here, I belong here because I am a part of the all. I am not separate. I had to remind myself that I'm not separate from the Aina, from Hawaii, and from anyone or anything. And then I saw the results.
Let me ask you this. You say you encountered these various egos that came from, they manifested outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
But so do you think these egos were bad things? Now,
No.
in hindsight.
No, absolutely
No?
not.
Yeah.
They were my teachers. All of these egos that show, when we talked about the shadow, as a matter of fact, I wrote a song called 50 Shades of Black, and it talked about interacting with your shadow and having fun with it, but it came from a couple's perspective where couples did not down each other's shadow, but they created a day for the shadows to run and play.
Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely. I'm going to let you hear it after this. But it's important for your ego to show you how you really think about you. How can you heal it if it doesn't show up? How can you address it if it never shows up? It has to show up. But one thing that I feel like is unhealthy is to try to act like it's not happening.
Right.
To try to trick yourself.
Like bypass it.
Yeah, bypass it,
I'm a spiritual being.
Yeah,
so
I'm too spiritual to have that thought or have that happen, or to have to work through that. Because once you've gotten too big to not see yourself and not to really want to work on your ego when it shows up, or even when someone bring it to your attention, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care how many followers you have. And yes, I'm talking to some of our elders out here too. If you're still in human form, elders, you're still working on you too. So it's good for you to check yourself and check your wolf at the door as well. It doesn't matter how many books you've written or how big of a pedestal people have put you on. Be careful, because the bigger the pedestal, the harder to fall. So it's really important for you to check your wolf, to check your ego, to make sure you are really coming at people in the most loving space, not from a space of ego or from a space of you think somebody owe you something because you've done this and this and that. No, you're still a channel for the Most High. Please remain a channel and not an ego of wanting to just have fortune and fame, because that is really interesting. Right there.
I want to end it on this aspect, because this has been coming up a lot for me personally. I think just where I'm at in my life, right? Just trauma. Right. This is a heavy topic, and we have discussed this, and for those of you, look out for a video on her page, the Pussy Power Hour. We went in depth, and it was very deep, and you guys are definitely going to enjoy that content when it comes out. But trauma, right? That's definitely, and I'm relating this back to what I was saying earlier. I call it trauma porn, right? I think we are addicted to our trauma because we keep, going back into it, perpetuating it, right? And we don't realize it, and I've noticed, within myself that, okay, it may not appear the same way, but that trauma is still replaying. Absolutely. And in one way or another, I'm addicted to that. That's why that reality keeps showing up for me.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I want to correlate that to consciousness, the ego, and then where that trauma comes in regards to that, right? So would you say that trauma is, consciousness trying to show me through my ego that, hey, this is something that you need to work on, so that way you can just move past it, right? Like when you move past it, how do you stop yourself from just looking back at it and repeating the pattern, right? And in Kabbalah, they call that a klipothic experience, where excuse me, it's called klepothic experience, where you keep going through that cycle over and over again, and it happens faster and faster each time until you actually pass that test. So, what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I 1000% agree with that. Yes, your ego will continue to recreate that same pattern until you come to a realization that you have not healed it, you're not addressing it, and if you do see it, you are refusing to make the necessary changes. A lot of that is fear, and that is an attachment avoidant style of communication with yourself.
Wow.
You attached to the cycle, and you're avoiding the change.
Wow.
And a lot of times that happens because of that lack of healthy communication from a baby and healthy boundaries. So now you don't even have a healthy boundary with yourself. So your ego now runs wild, does whatever it wants, like a child having a tantrum. And so to say, no, I do want to do it this way, because you get caught up in the endorphins that are released from the moment of this experience that you're about to have. So you take in all the endorphins, and then boom, here comes the crash. It's like drinking coffee. There's the up and then there's the crash. And it's the same thing with the ego in your secular experiences that you create for yourself to learn. Now you'll know when you're ready to break that cycle, because you already know that you're going to experience pain. And you get yourself ready for the pain. You say, you know what, I am ready to break this cycle by any means necessary. That means being willing to really take a really good look at yourself. And you first got to admit, an addict first got to admit they're an addict.
Right.
You dealing with somebody that's a crackhead. If they say, I'm not a crackhead, I'm not an addict.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once they say that, then they're saying, I'm not ready to break this cycle. So just leave me alone for now. Let me exhaust this all the way down to where I have nowhere else left to go. And some people like to do that. Some people like to play it that way, where they exhaust themselves all the way till they hit rock bottom so far there's not another rock they can hit.
Right. And
so there's no place up for them to go but up.
Yeah.
And some people say, you know what, midway is far enough of me. I've learned I don't want to experience this anymore, so I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to go ahead and start doing the work that it takes for me to break this cycle, and I know I'm going to experience pain.
Right.
And the pain is you detaching your ego. Your ego creates this illusion that you're going to hurt without it, that you're not going to be safe without it, that you are not going to be provided for without it, that you're not going to be able to find the right mate without it. It has already done that. It's programmed you, and the pain is detaching from the program. And you just got to be willing to go through that pain.
And so that sounds like a form of deconditioning.
Absolutely.
To me, for sure. And that goes back into the human design, right? And so, we're both sacral authorities, right? And I know that when I get to a state of frustration, right, I know that this is either not the environment for me, there's not the people for me, or, whatever the case may be, right? And moving myself out of that to go through that process of going into that trauma, right, understanding it, and then breaking out of it. What about the people who go into it? They can see it, but they don't necessarily know how to get out of it. They see it, they know that it's there, and they know it's something that they don't want to do, but they're having a hard time breaking free from that conditioning. Because I'm speaking in terms of like the collective, right? Where absolutely. Like everybody is. That's why we have all these spiritual gurus in these communities, because there's people are so traumatized that they're looking for somebody to come and save them. But the only thing any of these people can do is lead you back to yourself.
That's it.
To do that to do that deconditioning, right? So, what do you say to those people who are like, I know I need to solve this, I just don't know how, right? Like, what I do is I throw them into the human design journey. I tell them it's not going to be quick. It's going to take a while. And there's various modalities. Meditation, breath work, switching up your diet for a little bit if you need to, going back into different diets. There's no right absolute way to really do this. It really depends on the individual.
Absolutely. There's no cookie cutter way. That's a fact. Every individual has their own experiences and own lesson plan that they came here to learn through. So of course, they're going to need something tailored just for them. And so in the consultations that I do that help people move through epigenetic DNA clearing, as well as helping them to heal through the channels of childhood trauma, sexual trauma, and all these different traumas we collect all along our journey, what I do is sit with them and do a debriefing. And the debriefing is not me doing a bunch of talking, it's me asking questions and getting them to come to realizations and epiphanies on their own. And then we start now from the rebirthing part of their journey, taking them back to childhood, all the way from a baby, so then they can remember and they can start remembering, bringing all the parts of them, fragmented parts of themselves back together. Because that's all it is a dismembering of yourself. You're fragmented. And so when you remember, you bring all of your pieces, fragmented pieces, back to yourself, so then you can now embody the fullness and the wholeness of who you really are. So that's part of forgetting. You've forgotten that you are a spirit being, having this human experience. You forgot that. So you have to remember that. And then you, from that understanding and that clarity, then you understand, why was I born at this time, under this moon, under this sun? Why did I choose these parents and these siblings? Why did I choose? And once you gain that authority and that power back over your experience, then you're like, okay, I am not powerless in this. I don't have to obey my ego because I'm not powerless. I am powerful in this.
Right.
And I am full with remembering and bringing my wholeness back to me. So then I can now hone in on the spaces that I have forgotten. And then once you hone in on the forgotten spaces, you can fill those voids with love. And then you can start moving forward from there. So that's...
Wow, that's powerful.
Man.
Okay, so we can go on all night about this, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Go ahead, like, subscribe. When you subscribe, you create a direct connection to me, and so I'm able to go ahead and hop onto this channel, and I'm able to bring in the information that you need, the awareness that you need. And so by you subscribing, it will definitely create a very powerful connection, and it'll also help build this YouTube channel up, which I would greatly appreciate. So I'm going to plug in all the information as to where you can find Dr. Niemah Nefertiti. All right, and I look forward to connecting with you all. If you're interested in a consultation, click the link in the bio below as well. And we're gonna go ahead and end this right there. I hope you all have an amazing, prosperous day, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. Do you have any final words you want to say?
I just want to say, remember who you are. Remember your greatness. Remember your power. And until next time, we'll see you.
Until next time. Peace.
Peace.